Okay, so let's take a look at how you can use Cloud SQL in Google Cloud Platform and then try and install MySQL into that Cloud SQL instance, right? After that, we will be connecting that instance using MySQL Workbench on my desktop. So if you haven't tried MySQL Workbench, simply search for that MySQL Workbench, right? And we'll get the first result. If you go here and download it, make sure to download the version which is suitable for your desktop, right? In my case, that would be community download. I will have to check for Workbench, MySQL Workbench. Here you see, this is the installer that I will be using. So once installed, you will have it in your desktop and you can search with MySQL Workbench. As you can see, version 8 for my case. In your case, this could be 10 or so in near future, so you watch out with version changes. That's not much of worth looking at unless there is a big feature. But once we have that installed, we will be able to connect the instance from Google Cloud SQL to that of our desktop instance of Workbench. Right now, within the dashboard, you will see that we have option for all products, and here within all products, we get to check databases section, network serverless databases, and here I'll be clicking on SQL. This should take me to SQL's page. Meanwhile, here you see your MySQL Workbench on desktop. Here we already have that instance from previous Azure connection. I will be removing that. And now if I want to connect to the Google Cloud's SQL instance, I will just have to press this plus button. We'll come to this part. Before that, let's set up the instance. Now here, as you can see, I already have one instance. I will come to this, but before I will show you how to set this up. So click on create instance here, and it will ask you to choose between the three options: MySQL, Postgres, and SQL Server. It doesn't have the recent version of any of the databases. All of these are LTS, right? So you will have some years of support, right? You will be able to upgrade if and when required along with patches, right? Now here we will be choosing MySQL, and we will go with series of steps to install that particular instance. Right now here you see instance info. This is where you will be adding the instance ID. So it could be DevSQL, MyDB, or MyDevSQL, and then password, you'll be adding that. Then database version, you'll be adding that, right? Then you have configuration to start with. In my case, I'll be choosing development configuration. It will reduce the need for higher CPU, right? Because this is just a test machine, I don't need to set it up for anything higher, right? Now if we move to region, you have plenty of regions. So the logic to choose that is, if you are in a say Asia, there is no logical reason to choose US or Europe, right? Because your local usage will be from that region. So you can choose that. Along with, also there is this green icon showing low CO2 emission, so you can pick if you are environment conscious, right? Then there is also choice for zone selection. So unless you are worried about outage or failover, or if you have any critical business operation, better to stick with single zone, right? So just for test purpose, I think that's fine. Otherwise, for enterprise, go with multiple zones. Then you have option for instance where we can manually pick all of these, like say machine type. I can choose high memory, lightweight, standard, shared core, Shared code has very minimal CPU and not worth recommending. So go with lightweight. So it will have at least 2 CPU, 8 GB memory. Storage you can also configure. So you can go to storage, pick 10 GB, 20 GB, that also do. Then pick connections, you can pick public, private, and other options for networks. So that is also possible. Then comes data protection, you can pick automatic backups, deletion protection, and so on. You can pick that. Then there is maintenance options, you can pick maintenance window, order update, and so on, right? Apart from that, there is also flags option. So I'll be not covering that because this is just a developer test machine and we won't be needing flags or even query inside. So if you want to use this telemetry option of query inside, you can pick that. Labeling is good for organizing your resource, so you can make use of labels. Once you do all of that, you can click on create instance, which should create the instance within typical 5 to 10 minutes. Then you will have instance which should appear in your list of instances. So here you see I have my instance running and it has the lightweight configuration, so 2 CPU, 8 GB memory. You can make it even more lightweight with 1 GB RAM or so, right? Now we will be needing the details for connection, right? So here you see, if we scroll, we can see the public IP address, connection new, right? So let's pick this public IP address. Now let's go to MySQL Workbench. I hope you have installed this. I'm not going to cover the installation like we are in 10 standard or 5th standard because this is pretty easy setup of Workbench. If you are in DBA, I don't think you would require this, but if you do require it, I have covered that separately in another session as well. So let's click on connections. So this is the connection. I'm going to name it dev MySQL, right? Then there is a host name. This is where our IP comes in. So I will paste the IP, right? Then there is username. Then also there is a password and default schema. Now if we use store in vault, here I can paste the password, click OK, and then there is default schema. I will not be adding any schema right now because we don't have anything as such. Port we will keep 3306 unless you have changed anything on your GCP. In that case you will have to change, right? Now here you see we have option to test the connection. So click test connection and let's see if it's available. If the connection is successful, we can click OK and then we will go to our MySQL instance where we can create the database and even create the table if required, so that we would be able to do some operations. So unable to connect, so fail to connect at this particular with user root. There could be some other issues. Now that error come because we have to set up few things which includes SSL, right? So if it's available, you may have to go to your security tab of connections, then allow SSL connection and download the certificate. Now that I have downloaded, I can check the certificate file. So it's .pem file, right? So I'll have to check whether it's CA-cert or if it's okay, it's server CA. So I can go to that. Okay, so I added the file. Okay, so when you make sure to download the certificate, you add that certificate here. Now here we managed to change few things, like let's say I added the SSL file, right? Then I will go back and test things out. You see the connection is successful because I made two changes, one being allowing SSL, second I also changed networking, where you can see that I have added all IP address. So 0.0.0 then /0, click done and all IP addresses accepted. Now I can connect, so click OK. This should take you to your connection. By double clicking on this, it should open a new tab, right? And as you can see, we have our existing schemas here. Now I will have to right click and create schema, that means database. So let's name this MyDB, right? Keep the default character set and collation, click apply and again apply, so that it will create that database. We call it schema here, so let's go with that. Now next thing, I will right click on this, then I will try and see if it allows me to import anything. So I need import export wizard, so let's try and create a table or table data import wizard. So here file path I will choose, let's say going to my files, and here let's pick up CSV files. Let's pick people.csv, click open and then click next. Now here I can name this people or employees. You can name this employee, right, or even users, or even just people for, let's say, keeping track of this as an HR person. So click next. Now we have all the columns and the respective data underneath. So we have like 5 to 10 entries. Let's go with that. Next, click and let it process. It won't take much time. It's finished. Click next. 10 records imported. Now let's see finish, and now let me close this particular tab and right click on existing table to refresh them. It has a new table now named people, so I'll right click, select all rows, and it will show me the 10 new rows that were added here, right? So we managed to connect to our MySQL instance in Google Cloud Platform under SQL Cloud Instance. We also managed to upload CSV file, we created a schema, and table data was added through CSV file. So we managed to do all of that and we got our result exactly as expected.